There is a wound, perfectly round, about the size of a coffee cup rim, punched clean through the skin and blubber of a killer whale swimming somewhere in the North Pacific, as if someone had pressed an ice cream scoop lined with razor blades against her flank and turned. She is not alone. There are dozens of these scars on her body, dozens more on the animals she swims with. And in the deep archives of every marine research institute that has ever studied killer whales, from the Arctic to the Antarctic, the same signature keeps appearing. Perfect, round, surgical. The orca has no predator. That is the first thing every marine biology textbook tells you. 6 tons of coordinated muscle, a brain second only to ours in complexity. Great whites flee from her. Blue whales are on her menu, and something is coring holes out of her body while she sleeps. For decades, marine biologists looked for the answer in the wrong direction. They looked for something bigger, something with more teeth, something at the top. The truth turned out to be the exact opposite. And what actually leaves those marks is small enough to fit in the palm of your hand. It has also, at various points in the last 50 years, attacked United States Navy submarines and one specific long-distance swimmer off the coast of Hawaii. Hit like, subscribe so you don't miss what comes next, and stay with us. Before you can accept what did this, you have to understand what it did it to. Orcas do not lose fights. In the eastern North Pacific, they coordinate in pods to drown gray whale calves that outweigh them. In the Antarctic, they generate waves with their tails to wash seals off ice floes. And off the coast of California, they have been documented flipping large sharks upside down to trigger a paralysis reflex inside the shark's own nervous system, then holding them there until the shark suffocates in its own skin. You want to see how brutal it gets? Look at South Africa's Western Cape. Since at least 2017, 2 male orcas named Port and Starboard have been hunting great white sharks along the Gansby coast. Not for territory, not for defense, for one specific organ, the liver. In June 2023, researchers filmed something no one had ever caught on camera before. Starboard, alone, killing a juvenile great white in under 2 minutes and swimming off with the liver hanging from his mouth. After the attacks, the whites did not fight back. They abandoned entire hunting grounds for months. The animal that inspired half a century of shark movies became the refugee. So no. Whatever is punching circles into orcas, it is not a great white. It is not a tiger shark. It is not a hammerhead. Orcas hunt those too, which means somewhere in the ocean there is a creature that violates the entire hierarchy of the marine food web. And nobody was looking for it because nobody thought it could exist. Look at the wound itself. Not random. Not a scratch, not a rake, not the drag of a tooth across skin. Perfect ovals, 4 to 6 centimeters across, dug through the blubber and into the muscle underneath, leaving a concave crater that takes about 150 days to close. Nearly 5 months of scarring on an animal that heals faster than almost anything else in the sea. A 2011 study published in the journal Aquatic Mammals cataloged these injuries across roughly 78 individual killer whales, pulled from new sightings, older reports, and photo identification archives from around the world. The scars turned up on orcas sighted from 70 degrees north, the Arctic, all the way down to 77 degrees south in the ice fields of Antarctica. Every ocean, every latitude. But when the researchers looked closer at the polar animals, the ones that lived their entire lives in freezing water, something was off. Those orcas carried old scars, healed scars, almost never anything fresh. The bleeding, active wounds were on animals that migrated, animals that were known to leave the polar water and swim into warmer seas, which meant the attacker was not living where the wounds were being found. It was waiting somewhere warmer, in a transition zone, ambushing the top predator of the ocean during migration, from a place the orca only passed through for a few weeks a year. Something small enough to go unnoticed, something mobile enough to be everywhere, something armed with a mouth capable of engineering a perfect circle in living rubber. Get ready for the reveal, because when I show it to you, you are not going to believe it. It is a shark. It is less than half a meter long. In your hand, it would look like a stubby, dark cigar, which is exactly why it has 2 names, the scientific one, Icystius brasiliensis, and the common one that stuck with fishermen and sailors from Hawaii to Brazil, the cookie-cutter shark. It spends the day at depths where sunlight stopped mattering long ago. sometimes more than a kilometer down, in water pressurized enough to crush a submarine hull. And every night, when the surface goes dark, it rises. Vertical migration, thousands of meters straight up, every 24 hours. And on the way up, it hunts. Its belly is covered in tiny organs called photophores. They glow with a soft greenish light. This is not for mating. It is not for attracting prey. It is camouflage, one of the most sophisticated camouflage systems in the animal kingdom. When a large predator swims below the cookie cutter and looks up, it sees the faint moonlight or starlight filtering down through the water. And it sees the cookie cutter's glowing belly, which matches that faint light exactly. The silhouette that should be there, the shape of a fish blocking the sky, vanishes. The cookie cutter becomes, effectively, a hole in the sky, except for one small patch behind its gills. That patch does not glow. To something looking up from the dark below, that dark patch looks like a small fish drifting alone in the light. Isolated, vulnerable, an easy snack. It is bait, attached to a predator, suspended in a cloak of light. Larger animals, tuna, dolphins, marlins, orcas, see the shape, close in to grab what looks like a free meal, and at the last moment the cookie cutter twists, closes the gap, and clamps its suctorial lips onto the flank of the animal that just tried to eat it. Those lips are not ordinary. They are thick, muscular, modified into an airtight seal that grips skin, blubber, or rubber like an industrial suction cup pressed against a wall. Once that seal locks, the shark is anchored. The upper jaw digs in with small, hook-shaped teeth that hold position. The lower jaw, a single row of large, triangular, interlocked teeth that function together as one continuous circular blade, begins to rotate. The shark spins its entire body against the wound, and in a fraction of a second it cores out a plug of flesh the exact size and shape of a wine cork. Then it lets go, and it sinks back into the dark before the animal it just wounded has finished registering that anything happened. This is what makes the cookie cutter unlike almost any other shark on Earth. It does not kill what it feeds on. It is a parasite that feeds on the hunter, one bite at a time. Most of the animals it targets survive the attack. They simply carry the mark for the rest of their lives, and on rare occasions, when a wound gets infected or the animal was already weakening, the bite becomes the reason it dies. Which, if you thought that was the strangest part of this story, is where things start to break. Because it turns out the cookie cutter does not distinguish between a whale and anything else warm-blooded or rubber-coated moving through open water. In the 1970s, the United States Navy started noticing something wrong with its ballistic missile submarines. The rubber sonar domes on the bows of certain boats were coming back to port perforated. The acoustic insulation panels were gouged. External electrical cables had chunks of shielding torn away, exposing raw copper to salt water and shorting out systems that, in the middle of the Cold War, were absolutely not supposed to short out. Naval intelligence's first theory was sabotage. Soviet divers. Some new class of undersea weapon they had not yet identified. Around 30 submarines were affected before Navy biologists took a rubber sample under a microscope and recognized the pattern. Perfect ovals, clean edges, the same signature that had been showing up on whales for 100 years. The Soviet Union had nothing to do with it. Some of the most classified vessels in the American nuclear arsenal had been attacked over and over by a shark shorter than a baseball bat. The eventual fix was fiberglass reinforcement on the affected components. There was no other option. You cannot deter something that thinks a nuclear submarine is a whale. And for most of history, humans stayed out of the story. We do not typically swim in open ocean at night, far from shore, until March 16, 2009. A long-distance swimmer named Mike Spaulding was crossing the Alenuihaha Channel between the Big Island of Hawaii and Maui, one of the roughest open-water routes in the Pacific. Deep water, dark night. Around midnight, he felt what he later described as a pinprick in the middle of his chest. He kept swimming. Moments later, something struck his left calf, hard. His support crew pulled him into the kayak. When they turned a flashlight on his leg, the wound was a clean, oval crater, roughly the diameter of a golf ball, cored straight down to the muscle. It was the first widely accepted case of a cookie cutter shark attacking a living human being. Every earlier piece of evidence had come from bodies recovered from the sea, drowning victims mostly, that showed the same signature bites, clustered post-mortem across the torso and limbs. For a long time, biologists assumed that was the whole picture. That cookie cutters were opportunists, feeding only on floating remains that could not fight back. Mike Spaulding proved otherwise. He proved that to a cookie cutter shark rising through the dark, a live swimmer and a dead one are the same silhouette against the moonlight. Just another shape blocking the surface glow, just another source of protein. Other night swimmers around the Hawaiian Islands have since reported the same clean, circular wound during open ocean crossings. Always in warm water, always in deep water, always after dark. Here is what the cookie cutter forces us to reconsider. When we picture the most dangerous animal in the ocean, we picture teeth as long as fingers. We picture a body the size of a bus. We picture the great white, the tiger shark, the killer whale herself. We are almost always wrong. The most successful predator in the ocean is not the largest. It is not the fastest. It is not even the strongest. It is the one that figured out how to feed on the animals that could kill it with a single blow, and how to do it without ever being seen. It disguises itself as the sky. It uses the apex predator's own curiosity as a lure. It takes what it needs, and it disappears back into a mile of darkness before its victim understands what just happened to it. Every orca you have ever seen in a nature documentary, every great white on Shark Week, every dolphin arcing through a wave off the coast, a huge percentage of them carry a scar somewhere on their flanks that says the same thing. The ocean is not ruled by the ones on the posters. It is ruled quietly by something that would fit inside a fishing tackle box. If this rearranged what you thought you knew about the food chain, you know what to do. Hit the like button. Subscribe for more of the animals that are not supposed to exist doing things they are not supposed to do. And drop a comment telling us which apex predator you want us to look at next. Because the ocean is full of these stories, and most of them have not been told yet.